In today's video, we're looking at unexpected things under the ocean that were caught on camera. The ocean is home to many fantastic and terrifying creatures. However, there are also unexpected man-made creations that have made the ocean their home as well. Which of these did you find to be the most fascinating? Let us know in the comments down below. Number 10. Dragon-like sea creature. This sea creature resembles a dragon swimming below the ocean's dark depths. When you think about all known living or dead sea creatures, there's nothing quite like it. An underwater camera captured this unidentified snapshot, and it basically tells us that the technology still has a long way to go. It appears to be a rock, a plant, or an amalgamation of the two. Eagle-eyed marine biologists have identified it as a leatherback turtle preying on an octopus. Leatherback turtles are reportedly able to dive up to 4,200 feet and have been known to eat octopus on occasion, in addition to softer prey like jellyfish and sea squirts. While this is the most likely explanation, only better deep-sea camera technology is going to confirm what really lurks beneath the deep. Number 9. World War II Shipwreck. The Thistlegorm was a World War II steamship that is considered the most popular shipwreck in the world. It contains a treasure trove of military vehicles and other artifacts, which adds to its allure among divers. The 420-foot steamship was powered by a 3-cylinder engine with 1850 horsepower. It was operated by the Alban Line, popular for its thistle ships named after the national flower of Scotland. It was surprisingly well armed for a supply ship and equipped with a 4.7-inch anti-aircraft gun. On top of the AA gun, it also had a heavy-caliber machine gun to defend itself. In late 1941, the Thistlegorm made its final voyage to its present resting place. 2 German bombers were dispatched to bomb a convoy of ships carrying troops and supplies to the Allied efforts in Africa. It caught fire and sank quickly, taking 9 out of the 42 crew with it. For a large ship, it sank in relatively shallow waters, and this makes it a popular dive site as its depth is accessible to recreational scuba divers looking for a museum under the sea. Number 8. Human-like sea creature. A human-like creature from the sea was discovered floating along the shore of a beach in China. Video footage of this unexplained humanoid shows it washed up on the beach, seemingly alive. Onlookers were afraid to come close at first, but one man bravely, or stupidly, picked the creature up by the back of the neck to take a photo. The man was astonished when the creature began to move. What looked like its head and limbs were gently squirming. This bizarre video went viral online, with people split over whether this really was a human or some kind of mutated sea creature. Some thought it was just a mass of kelp, while others believed it was a differently shaped starfish. Dr. Carl Scholker, a cryptozoologist and zoologist, believed it to be some kind of sea sponge that was either intentionally or otherwise vaguely shaped like a humanoid. Number 7. Underwater train wreck. Archaeologists specializing in underwater excavations discovered a train graveyard just off the coast of New Jersey. 2 steam locomotives from a century and a half ago were found just 90 feet below the water. There is no information or historical record on what might have caused the trains to be displaced. There are also no other signs of a shipwreck, making this situation even more puzzling. The most accepted theory is that the locomotives were being shipped from one state to another and were probably pushed or washed overboard during a storm, although it's strange why the crew would not report the loss of these engines when their ship docked. Train fanatics were quick to share more details on the engine, based on photos of the number of wheels and the details in the smokestacks. These engines were identified as Class 222Ts, a rare type steam locomotive that was smaller than average and was used to move carts around in train yards instead of pulling passenger carriages. Scuba divers today can still recognize these trains, despite the life that has grown around it. They both still stand upright and almost beside each other, giving them the illusion of 2 sunken railroads serving their underwater passengers. Number 6. The Loch Ness Youngling. An unidentified creature washed up on a beach in Georgia in 2018 and made headlines thanks to its resemblance to Scotland's Loch Ness Monster. Resident Jeff Warren chanced upon the carcass of the creature while on a boating trip with his son at Wolf Island National Wildlife Refuge in Georgia. He initially thought it to be a dead seal, but realized upon looking at the creature closer that it was something else. The animal looked to be about 5 feet long and resembled a prehistoric sea-dwelling reptile called a plesiosaur. Experts have been left stumped, and it did not help that scavenging birds had begun pecking at the carcass when Warren found it, so this video might not have been the best representation of the creature. It's been labeled by some as a relative of Nessie, while another said it could be a basking shark, which is known to have an elongated neck when decomposing. Unfortunately, once wildlife authorities arrived at the site, the dead creature was nowhere to be found. Still, hoax or not, this animal has begun a new legend for Georgia, with locals calling it Alti. Number 5. Chinese Atlantis. The underwater city of Xishang, or Lion City, is often called the Atlantis of the East by travelers. Nestled at the bottom of a man-made lake in Xijing, it is one of the world's only underwater empires, giving us a glimpse of this mysterious time capsule that contains relics from Imperial China. In contrast to the mythical Atlantis, Xishang was flooded on purpose in 1959 to enable the construction of the Xinyan Dam. Hundreds of thousands of residents, some of whom are descendants of those who lived there for generations, had to be relocated for the project. The underwater city was put in the spotlight in the early 2000s when the Chinese government organized an expedition to explore the remnants of the lost empire. Photos from this initiative further sparked interest with the public, showing that despite being submerged, Xishang has remained well preserved. These days, advanced divers can take a trip to the ruins with one of the 2 licensed dive operators. The ruins have yet to be fully mapped, and the dive is limited to those with deep water, night, and buoyancy experience, though. Number 4. The Megalodon. Megalodon was, or is, a prehistoric shark that measured up to 70 feet and weighed up to 70 tons. Its wide mouth was filled with 276 serrated teeth, which grew up to 7 inches in length. Initially thought to be extinct, several recent sightings have put this into question. The first pieces of photographic and video evidence shows 2 whale attacks from 2009 and 2013. In both cases, the remains of the whales can be seen washed up onto the shore. Both whales were seemingly decapitated cleanly by an animal with a jaw size that doesn't exist. A local marine biologist concluded that the only animal capable of such a feat would have been the size of a meg. In 2013, a dorsal fin with a height of 6 feet was spotted in the South African coast. Also, around that same time, old photos were uncovered from German World War II U-boats showing another large dorsal fin, this time followed by a tail fin. The distance between the two was about 64 feet, indicating that the total creature length must have been of excess of about 100 feet. Number 3. Giant Sloth. Underwater cave explorer Vicente Fito chanced upon an incredibly well-preserved giant sloth fossil in a limestone cave about 100 feet below the water's surface. The bones were collected by Fito and donated to the National Institute of Anthropology and History in Mexico, where they were put together and described. The discovered sloth ended up being a new species, classified as… I'm not going to try to pronounce that word, throw it up on screen. It most likely died in the same cave it was found when the sea level was much lower. When the cave got flooded 10,000 years ago, the dried remains were preserved well as they lay undisturbed for thousands of years. Paleontologists aren't really sure how big this species of giant sloth was, but it was at least 500 pounds. It's thought that this particular species of sloth lived about 10,000 years ago. Unfortunately, despite the well-preserved skull and other bones, there's still a lack of information about this new species. More bones will shed light on this giant creature. The fossilized sloth was nicknamed Pote after the name of the sinkhole it was found in. Number 2. DEVATA Vishnu Temple. Off the coast of Pematran Beach in Bali, residing 90 feet beneath the ocean's surface, is the DEVATA Vishnu Temple. This temple uses idols and other relics that are over 5,000 years old, but the site itself is man-made, constructed as part of an artificial reef creation project. Coral and other aquatic life forms have made this temple their home, attaching to these structures and making them part of their habitat. Called Tamanpura, or Temple Garden, this dive site has a 4-meter-tall gateway leading to the temple. There's also around a dozen large stone Hindu and Buddhist statues sitting on the ocean floor. A second temple, located about 50 feet below the water's surface, was erected nearby for less than experienced divers to enjoy the underwater sights. Number 1. Phantom Jellyfish. The phantom jellyfish has only 110 recorded sightings in the past 100 years. Even more rare is video evidence, which makes the clear captures by the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute a big deal. Despite its rarity, though, researchers believe that it can be found on all of Earth's oceans except the Arctic. Mbari researchers were using a remote-operated submarine to explore the seas off the coast of Monterey Bay in California when they spotted the species at a depth of 3,200 feet below sea level. It showed in detail for the first time the creature's 30-foot-long mouth arms that are designed to trap its victims before bringing them to its mouth. An important reason that these creatures are hard to find is where they live, which is about 22,000 feet below the surface of the ocean. In this zone, sunlight does not penetrate and water pressure reaches up to 6,000 pounds per square inch, which makes exploration very difficult. Jellyfish can absorb these tremendous pressures with their soft gelatinous bodies. This giant has a majestic and alluring appearance with movement through the water. Its bulbous bell, or head, appears to glow pale orange, and from above or below, the creature resembles a top hat attached to 4 flowing scarves. Amazing, beautiful, and very, very deadly.